Hey everyone, I'm Yorû and welcome back to the third video in my new 3D model creation series. And today we're actually gonna get into doing something. So first of all, it's just a recommendation from my part. If you want to use multiple models or something, like if you want to create your own model from existing models or something similar to that, I recommend you to do a concept first of all. So just get into Photoshop or whatever you're using, import a screenshot of the original champion model. For example, I usually get mine from TimoGG or LeakRef on Twitter. And then just try to arrange your skin the way you want it to look. Because it's just way easier to do it beforehand than doing everything in Maya, because then you have to import the Riot model, then import the texture, then see that it looks shit after all, and then you have to delete it again and go through the next thing. So doing a concept on paper is way better at first. I also always tend to do my VFX concept in there as well, but this is not going to be a part of the tutorial. I have a separate one for that. So yeah. Now, what you want to do before starting to model anything is gathering your original resources. I already have a video for Obsidian, so you can look there if you don't know how to get that. But yeah. So you want to create a what client folder for your champion. In my case, it's Ari, of course, with all the file structure that you will need for the remodel. And in there, there's a tool, not really a tool, but yeah, which is Riot.skl. Using this will help you prevent your animations from breaking later on, which you will need for a lot of newer champions. For example, it's really prevalent on Jhin and Samira. Like, the animations will just be broken if you don't use that. Whatever you're doing, even if it's weighted perfectly correct. So you just want to take the SKL of your champion, duplicate it, and then simply rename it to Riot.skl. Again, this is something that only works in Maya 23, but I like to prepare it for every champion because you might need it, you might not need it. It's not really much work or anything. And next we're just gonna boot up Maya. And there we are. Now we're gonna do a next preparation step for later on down the line. You want to import the original SKN and SKL first of all. Again, you should already have the import settings from my last video. And then you can just import the SKN, drag and drop, and then you should have the whole model with bound bones. Now, this is going to be a preparation for a lot easier waiting later on. And what we want to do is just go to File and then Export All. Select files of type FBF export, FBX. That's what I usually use. You can also use die FBX, but I never had issues with that, so I'm just going to stay with that. I'm just going to call it weights. And then just save it inside my projects folder. As I said, that's something you don't have to worry about at the moment. You would need it later on, and yeah. Now your skin is gonna be bound, first of all. And to edit it, we need to unbind it first. So you want to select the whole group, so not just the singular meshes. If you want to make a huge change to the model, you will have to unbind everything. Just go into the rigging window and go to skin and go to unbind skin. As you can see, if you rotate bones, nothing happens anymore. It's not weighted anymore. It's not bound together. So next, I'm always gonna go hide the bones because they're kind of in the way when you do your remodeling. So just select all the bones in Outliner and press Ctrl H. So now they're just hidden. Like, they are still there. They're not deleted, but you can't see them anymore. Later unhide them, you have to press Shift and H, and then they're just back. So no big deal about that. Now, what I also did beforehand is I arranged all my resource models. So those are all the models from my concept, which I will be using. And I'm just gonna start off somewhere. So I tend to start with the bigger parts. For example, this is the dress and the arms. I'm just gonna import Janna in this case. As you can see, she has a bunch of extra stuff, which is again nice that we imported her with separate materials. So I'm just gonna go delete the materials I don't need, like the weapon, the recall, and her rose. And then next I'm gonna scale her up to size. So she matches her, like you can usually align the face nicely or like the shoulders or something. So that works. And I will keep checking back into my concept to see what I'm doing. Check if this rose is actually from Janna. Yes, it is. It is her head rose, so I'm gonna have to keep that as well. Now I'm just gonna delete parts I don't need. For that, I'm gonna go into face selection and then just double click on all the areas that I don't want. And then you can also drag a square over areas you want to deselect or you want to delete in that case. I don't need her hair. I might need some part of her neck actually. Or maybe Ari's neck is actually gonna be fine. So I'm just gonna leave it for there now. Delete the part that I definitely don't need, like also the ears and all of the other headdress stuff. It seems about right at first. Now what I'm gonna do is apply textures. So for that you want to go into Hypershade. First of all, I'm gonna go edit, delete unused nodes in order to delete the materials for the parts of Janna that we didn't need or we already deleted. Then I need to figure out which is which. So usually, of course, the numbers go up on depending on how many models you have imported. So the normal body would be Ari and the body one is Janna. So I just select that. Then under the common material properties under color, I want to press on the little checker square. Then select file from here. Now under image name, I'm gonna click on the folder symbol and then just select my text. And this is gonna be the dress and arms texture. Oh, you don't see anything yet? You need to click on the checkered circle here. And then this loads your textures. Now, as you can see, this doesn't quite look right. So you want to go change the renderer. Just go to renderer and then viewport. And I made a preset which properly renders the textures. And I'm just gonna, you can just copy those settings here. The depth peeling one is important because, as you can see on other settings, it doesn't work properly. Oh yeah, there we have it. I'm also gonna do the same to her arms, which for some reason have the material name hand. Now, if you want to see the textures to look like how they look in-game, you have to go to lighting and then enable flat lighting. And maybe you have the same issue as I, or you don't. In the view transform thing, that thing, it's always from reset to the wrong thing. So it's most accurate to the leaked textures if it's untone mapped. As you can see, if you don't have any textures yet, it's gonna look bad and hard to work with, so I would just turn it on for checking proper textures. Now I'm also gonna import the Ari texture. There we go. So yeah, her neck is actually completely naked, so I don't have to use Janna's neck. And I'm not going. Actually, I'm gonna keep the earrings for now and just see later on. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and take this part again and place it on top of Ari. Now, the next thing we're gonna have to deal with is with hands. Now, later on, animating hands is really, really hard if you don't use the original champion hands. Because they always tend to be a bit different. Even if they're a bit similar here, like you can see the difference. So if you want to properly animate your hands, I would recommend to keep original champion hands. Which means, of course, that I'm gonna have to adjust the dress and everything. But first, I want to actually try and adjust her dress a bit so it works better on Ari's actual body. And yeah, I'm gonna have to make it a bit longer actually. Because as you can see, it's high, and also the Janna's torso seems a bit short. So I'm gonna try scaling it a bit. So I'm gonna press R to get into scaling mode. And what you can do is press B, then it's a soft selection, and if you hold down B and left mouse button, you can scale it on how big the influence area is. And then I'm just gonna drag that down a bit. Maybe also widen the area. Then I'm gonna make the bottom area a bit less wide again, more narrow. Move that even further down. Gonna move the whole thing a bit back. The rose is also gonna sit above her tails, which is gonna be nice. Now I'm just gonna quickly check if it's not too deformed. Okay, the boob area is a bit much. That seems actually about right. And the flower needs to be a bit smaller. Of course. This is gonna sit in her hair, which I don't have yet, of course. Actually, keeping the earrings doesn't make sense because Ari just has her top ears, I would guess. Does she actually have human ears? No, she doesn't. Then, yeah, she doesn't get any earrings because that wouldn't make much sense. Unless I could put them on her, like, ears up there. Would be maybe an option. Gonna check that out later and just keep them around for now. I'm gonna also need to adjust the neck a bit, which I'm actually gonna get rid of part of her hair already. You can also adjust things in vertex mode, of course. And yeah, that's it for the first part of the model now, actually. I can already start getting rid of some parts of original Ari now to make the scene look less cluttered. Okay, now let's do the next part, which is gonna be our legs. And again, I'm gonna delete the things I don't need. And scale up the model to size. Here we have body 2 now, just Zyra. And here literally all I need is the legs. So it's gonna be pretty easy. Now if you press Control, Shift and I, you're gonna invert your selection. So I just went to having all the top selected and delete that. I'm gonna try adjusting her legs. The pose doesn't actually matter here because you can change up her bones a bit. Just have to make sure that it's like inside the skirt and not reaching out or anything. So I'm gonna get rid of the rest of her, like her normal legs before. And yeah, now what I'm gonna do is just do the rest, just working in Maya with probably time sped up a bit because I already showed you the basics. I don't think I'm gonna be doing much more to just do the model. So I'm gonna be back with a finished model then. Actually, something that I can show you here is on how to mirror something. Because now that I edited the RM like pretty detailed, I of course don't want to repeat that step. So I'm just gonna go mirror that over. So just select everything you want to mirror. Then go back to the modeling tab. And then it's under mesh and then go to mirror. So I would recommend you go into the options because there are a bunch of options. Now I usually don't change that much, except maybe the mirror axis or in the mirror direction. So I want to mirror it from right to left. So the mirror direction has to be minus. And then I'm just gonna press mirror. And now it's gonna have that little pop-up thingy there. That means you're still in mirroring mode. And then you can move about the mesh. Doesn't probably work with separated meshes, apparently, because you can see the sleeve doesn't move with it. But it already mirrored it perfectly anyway, so I don't even have to mirror anything. To have to move anything. But yeah, if it did not do that, you can adjust it manually with that little thing. But yeah, this is now mirrored. Now I can delete the rest of the sleeve and then adjust the hand again. Or did I even adjust it? No, I didn't adjust it. Alright. And I saw I missed one part of the arm inside there or something. Oh well. I don't know actually. Or was it of the sleeve? Yeah, I think it was that part. So now we have the proper sleeve on both sides. So I'm just gonna continue working again. So here's actually another thing I definitely haven't done enough yet is to save your progress. Because Maya 23 is a lot more stable, but you always want to save your progress because if it crashes and you have nothing left, it's just annoying as hell. So for that, I would also save as an FPX. file because that tends to be most stable to work with as well, so there should be no bugs appearing. And just save it also in your projects folder. See that there are no pop-ups because there's also an issue which I ran into sometimes where it warns you that your mesh would not be saved, so you basically lose everything as well. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in and tell you that as well. So my model is actually finished for now. I like how she turned out. Of course, no textures or anything done yet. But first, anyways, we're gonna have to deal with her UV. The UV is basically how the textures are arranged and projected onto the model. So let's just go here and then open the UV editor. Now, as you can see her texture, which is all of this, and then the actual small parts which are highlighted by triangles. This is the actual UV. So those are the sleeves, so not everything is there. Like if you select her body, there's gonna be even more. And now the thing is that Riot can only use one square here. Some are set up a bit differently, they're stretched, but there's still one square. Now, which means you gotta have to squeeze all of your meshes, which are actually 5, in all of one square. Now, there's also a different method, which means you have to program in new materials for each of the separate textures, which I prefer not doing because I don't really like coding too much, and I think it tends to break, or it can break more easily. So I don't do that, and the quality loss of squeezing it all in one isn't that bad. Like, it's still League of Legends, you can't see it that well. If you still have a big enough texture size and like texture quality, it's gonna be fine. I always do it that way. I'm gonna link the other tutorial either way, but I'm gonna show you how I do it. So there is this great UV space helper tool by Martin with all of those 4 edges, which basically means it takes all of your 4 textures or UVs and squeezes them in the 4 corners. Which of course is perfect if you only have 4 models at max, but I don't, so I'm gonna have to be a bit creative sometimes. Now, first of all, I'm gonna start with Ari's body and the eyes, which I'm just gonna take and squeeze it in the top left. As you can see, it gets scaled down by half, and the texture breaks while we're at it. That looks absolutely horrendous. I'm just gonna take the texture off and pretend that everything's fine. Then next one is the dress and the arms, which I'm gonna put in the bottom left while we're already there. Then next is the legs, which seems actually pretty small. That should be rather easy. I'm just gonna put them top right, the hair bottom right, and now I have only the ears left, because for the tails now they take up a huge chunk of UV, but you can tell that if something uses a different material, it sometimes uses a different texture, and then you don't have to squeeze that one in the same UV. For example, in Ari's case, as you can see, the tails have a separate texture. They have a separate UV, which is not on the same image as the body one, so you can have them separate. This is often the case for extra props, or for example Seraphine's hair, I think. You'll have to just check beforehand. You can usually tell by checking the UVs and textures and materials and everything. I don't have to worry about that. I'm just gonna select all models and see where I have space for the ears. And it seems like I can actually just leave them there, because I have way enough space still. I could even fit the tail in there if I wanted to. But yeah, that's my UV done, first of all. So next thing is we're gonna check the normals. So normally when you only deal with Riot models directly from SKN into Maya, don't have to deal with it. I would recommend checking it anyways, and in this case I ruined them on purpose to show you how it's not supposed to look. So first you want to, of course, display the normals. There go to display, polygons, and then face normals. Now as you can see, on some parts you see nothing, and then on the hair you have little lines poking out. Now on the area where it's not, can't see anything, they're actually facing inwards, which is needed for League of Legends models. So you're gonna have to fix the hair in this case. So just select the whole mesh and then go to mesh display and just click reverse. And you're done already. Now what's important to do after that is to delete the history, because otherwise you will have issues in the end after you try to export and get your model into League. The next step for me would be to combine all my meshes that need to be combined. Now I will be leaving out some meshes which will be in separate materials, which would be the tails and the eyes. But the rest I will select. So it's just the whole Ari body model. Then you want to go to mesh and then combine. Now as you can see, you get a bunch of those red thingies, even more than before. So you want to go to delete history again. And then it's all clean. Next thing I want to fix up the grouping again. So I'm gonna select everything, then press Ctrl G to group it. And I'm gonna rename the group to what it was before. And then I'm just gonna delete the remainders of the groups. And then just to make sure, I'm gonna delete history again, because yeah, you can never do that too often before you bind your model. Now I'm gonna do a bit more mesh cleanup. Then, as you were able to tell, I did a bunch of editing on the shoulders especially, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix those. First I'm gonna merge some vertices by hand. So you wanna go into vertex selection, of course, then select vertices which are adjacent to each other, but they are disconnected. Then you can hold down Shift, right mouse button, and then you get a little pop-up. Go to Merge Vertices, and then again on Merge Vertices, and just let go. And then you're just merging the model, which prevents some gaps in animations later on. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky, and you have to move around maybe, or make some extra cuts. And sometimes you have to merge on the same spot twice or even more times. Because as you can see, some are disconnected even though they're basically on top of each other, which is mainly an issue with the way they import into Maya, if I recall correctly. So now one side is done. If you don't like, if one side of your model has more vertices than the other side, so you can't directly match them, there's also a handy tool of multicut. You can find out mesh tools, and then you just select one vertical, and then just one point at the edge next to it, or like on the other side of it. Like here, for example, like closest way to the next vertical of the other side, and then you just click on there and press enter, and now you have another vertical which you can use directly, which doesn't affect like your model that much, so it doesn't destroy anything. But here, as they were connected before, it's perfectly fine. Because I just like move them around. And there we go, the second side is done. Now I'm gonna see if I have to do something about the neck area. A bit more of mesh cleanup, and actually the bubbles are still showing, so I'm just gonna disable those because they're a bit irritating. Then I'm gonna clean up, as I said. It's just a bit confusing because I don't have any textures at the moment, because I can't use them as they are terrible at the moment. I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and merge that together as well. So you have just one model. For example, this is also a thing where the other method I mentioned with coding in new materials would be an issue, because you can't have merged vertices between materials. Like, they have to be completely separated models, actually. And I'm gonna have to move the hair out of the way a bit. Actually, I'm gonna take the whole hair. So it's easier to place it back. And I missed the same spot again that was causing me issues earlier. That one? Yeah, no. It was a rose. Yep. Okay. Let's keep merging the next. This one actually fits very well as well. And on the front here, I'm gonna merge it that way. And then I'm gonna multi-cut 2 more vertices. Straight up in there and there. Of course, also merge the middle. And then I suppose I could make 2 more cuts. Yeah. Gonna go from here. There. So I think that's alright now. Now I can go ahead and clean up on the inside again. Because now we need a lot less of the neck. Everything's connected. Now the neck's perfectly clean on the inside. And I can move the hair back. Yep. Usually I would also see if I can like align the legs to the top. But usually when you have a dress, or a skirt, should be fine. I get the feeling the dress might be still a bit short. Because, or maybe the panties are just very high on Zyra. Now it's a bit lower again. Now what I like to do is also merge everything just so pieces that are disconnected because of the export or my import error aren't disconnected anymore. Which is go to edit mesh and then just merge. Now the threshold I choose is really usually low, so it really only gets the ones which are directly on top of each other. Now as you can see, if I select the hair, actually the whole hair area gets selected and not just the front of one of the strands. Now I also wouldn't have the issue with that one hair piece anymore, which keeps showing. Alright, I also have to connect the hands, I forgot about those. So now I'm gonna quickly connect the hands as well. And yeah, that's done. Now, after merging everything, you have to delete by history again. And that's actually it for the model work for now. So I'm gonna just export my FBX again. Get a warning again, which is good. And yeah, that's it then for this video. And in the next video, we're actually gonna talk about creating the texture. And yeah, see you then. Bye.